Hello, everybody, and welcome to Treasury Automation Workgroup. Today is 17th February, and usually I do a recording of our updates, what we have done since the last time we did updates about automation. And then we continue with the rest of the discussions, which are about finalizing our quarterly report and proposal for the next quarter in Singularity Ambassador program. Compared to the last month and like last 2 months, the vacations and the take breaks have been now moved over, and you can see I've started a little bit doing not too much like updates in terms of like time spent, but still relevant stuff. So mostly I would feel like I'm dealing still with operational stuff. So as we go through with the operators and seeing where is the blocker and or where are the bug fixes. Yeah, I would say the last 2 quarters have been the most buggy in the treasury overall. Like we constantly have some kind of thing going wrong. So that's a unfortunate downside of using like a prototyping tooling and Excel and without proper like how do you say, like when in GitHub you do this repositories and pull requests and like step by step. Here we just kind of do and break things along the go. But this month I reached to the point where I could also work on our quarter one action item, which is about automating core contributors. So previously it was like a 2-3 hour operation where I calculate and update all the information. You can see I spent 5 hours to make it more like a button click or make it easier. I did learn a few things that I'm not really able to fully automate it because we are in a situation where all the data we have is not we when we import stuff in, we don't really define what is participation and what is contribution. But as a core contributors, there is like that notion of difference. So instead of like arbitrarily choosing which of the mm, which of the like tasks are participations and which are contributions, I create myself tooling to do that. So if you see the screen, then this is our treasury manager where we do all the transaction, all the stuff, all the import. And there's a new sheet called core contributors where you will see 2 tables. One is basically a table that reloads our contribution data in this sheet with just less information that is not relevant, or like cleaning out all the unnecessary information, I will say. I won't press load recognition right now because I already have kind of cleaned this data. And now also it is parameterized, so I can just mention here, is it like 6 months, how long into history I want to go, and then month of contributions, like how long into history I want to go to capture contributions. And these red or purple buttons here are then like filtering this information. So when I first see it, I can click like filter support, and then what it tries to do is these are not participation nor contributions. So we can see game winners, trivia sessions, paying some kind of subscription fee, or for example, here is a huge event to Ethiopia. Yes, it is somewhat a contribution, but it's like prepaid invoice. So where the contribution and participation was suggested to be included later as a separate task item. So there is like these differences here. Over time, I guess we need to kind of come together and see if these guidelines are matching, because previously, yes, these were like the high level stuff, but I always had to deal with this kind of like, okay, which tasks go in, which are participations, which are contributions. And it was kind of done, not planned to be in a secrecy, but yeah, it wasn't very transparent. So that kind of process gives it the transparency. I think now we also can visually see what is getting affected and if we want to improve our contributions. Then we have filter meetings with contributions. So it's like showing all the contributions, but then showing also that has a meeting in their name, basically. Because there are some situations where it was some contributions were labeled contribution, but are actually just participation. And so right now, everything should be like summaries or like actually contribution that brings this up. Then filter unrewarded contributions. And so this is a situation where it is a contribution, but it doesn't have funds, basically. And then we need to kind of make a decision. Do we want this to be included as a contribution, or is it something else if it's not rewarded with AJAX? Because right now, yes, it is. I labeled them as contribution because I felt like they are contribution, even though are not valued financially. It doesn't actually affect the final totals because there you need the total AJAX. Well, it does affect it, but it doesn't affect like some of the values require contributions. And then we have filter reward participation, which is trying to see what participation gets paid. And then just as a way to see if maybe some of these participations are actually contributions. But yeah, right now I labeled them all as participation, even though the focus work group that was paid out like crazy amount of funds here, like $500, near $450 for the meeting, but I considered it as a participation because it was like a collective meeting. And so to kind of align with all the other meetings or like or the other participations. So here are these decisions and this tooling I created. And basically the idea is to get like a view cleaned data table. And then you're able to have more metrics now here, like setting exchange rate. Right now, the conversion rate has been the average of 2 quarters. And for the quarter 2, I will just update it. And then funding threshold is now changed. Previously it was 1,000 AJAX, but now we're moving to the flat USD. I think that's a great idea because USD doesn't need a stable threshold. And contribution amount. So previously I didn't really consider the original thought where it was like contributing at least 1 hour because that was very daunting to kind of figure out. But now when I move to the automation, it's not really a problem to calculate that. But then this heavily affects now the contributor amount. So we may want to change or lower that due to new ways of calculating it. And participation amount. Yeah, so all the parameters in the Google Doc is now also in here. And then you click load totals and you will get this like graph. There are a few things that I have left to do. One is might include participation. So when I showed you this filter unworded contribution, I think, for example, here it doesn't calculate that this is a financial value, but maybe it should. So I could include that. I think also with the participation, it was the same way, like it's financially rewarded, but it's called participation. So I need to decide how do I basically consider that in the table, and then currently missing the calculation of for last 3 months. So if you're looking at funding threshold reached, it it assumes the whole 6 months, not the 3 months. So that is something I need to do, like a bit of date calculation in the middle. But yeah, that's the output we can see. And if we would look that result as it is right now, then the way it kind of works is the contributed says that the last 3 months that person has contributed. That was one of the requirements. Then the total contribution amount assumes that it has to be like more than 6. So everybody who is below that number, all of these are discounted as not a contributor. And you can see the funny fact there is like Peter and Stefan and who are like doing work, and like Peter has a lot of time in here, but hasn't any contributions. And that's basically, well, you're not included in many tasks where you get paid, basically. That's the gist of it. And but you have contributed recently because you did have done something. Um, and participation threshold reached says right now true, but this is because it doesn't count in that factor yet. So you should be kind of already excluded by this amount, that it's like all of these don't get the participation. And then from here, it's also another factor. Everybody who is false here, these are all the other people who are not being basically recognized as participants. I don't know where this median age is coming from. Um, yeah, so I don't quickly recognize a name here that should be here. However, in both of these cases, we have this alternative line. So you can also get rewarded by having a funding threshold. So everybody from this yellow list who would not be a participant would be in the core contributor list because they have this total AGX exceeding the 300 USD rate. And yeah, if you move the percent rate even further down, so let's say we fix it to like 30 cents or something, then the average, I can't really calculate, it's 40, then the numbers will theoretically change a little bit. Yeah, well, that will remain the same, but the funding threshold would be for far more people. Yeah, how much total people we have? Well, based on that, 58 core contributors will come from the funding threshold, and those without these. And there is another list of 57 people from core contributors. So I don't know. Right now I need to do it a bit hacky because it's not fully ready yet. That would be 71 core contributors based on current studies. Okay, so it's actually not getting worse. Either it probably because of the USD lowering the USD rate, it has added a few more people, even though being a participator is now much harder. So yeah, kind of, I guess, take that video away and look at the core contributor document. You will find it in the meeting summary of the Treasury automation workgroup, and you can ponder on, should we change some parameters? Should we add something else into it? Because all the core contributors we select, every single person has the power to stop a proposal or add more energy to allow it. That's for core contributor side, and rest of the updates, yeah, fixes. And from Andre's side, the only thing that kind of is related to Treasury is Treasury API and working on the GitHub API stuff. So once I'm start with core contributors, I think it will take me one more week to finish it. Then I will probably move on to now integrating the GitHub API. I know we have this backlog task of uh, some kind of automation and participation side, the Zoom integration, but I feel like even though it's not perfect, the way we are doing our the process could like the importing, and it could be even faster. I feel like it's not as high priority compared to getting us off from the D work and moving towards a more sustainable platform like GitHub. I think that we will get far more wins moving there first, and then I can come back to the backlog items. And that kind of brings us to what is the next quarter proposal. But that information you will find out by looking at the proposal itself that we will work on this call. Thanks for watching. See you in the next call.